Hello, Steelers Nation, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Hritz, and joining me today is Matt Steel from Steel City Insider. Matt, thanks for being here. We got a lot to talk about today.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so before we jump into it, Jim couldn't be here for today's podcast. We just want to send some positivity, prayers, and love his way. And Jim, we're thinking about you.
Love you, brother. It's been a tough time for him. I know. I just, thoughts and prayers for him and his loved ones. And, we're thinking about you.
Yep. And this podcast is for you. So, Jim, we're going to try to make you proud. But Matt, I'm going to start by saying, because I speak from the fans' perspective, I'm pissed, frustrated, dejected, discouraged, and continuously this season, every time you get a shred of hope about this team being able to push and improve and get better, you have another debacle. I don't have any better word for it. Sure, they were competitive, but they let the game slip away. They get outplayed on both sides of the ball. They have an archaic offense. The defense flashes at times. They're getting outcoached, and the schedule coming up is challenging. And so from a 30,000 foot point of view, how would you currently assess this team and where they stand?
Let's start with one side of the ball, brother. Let's start with offense. And anybody that's read my work knows I beat the drum. I beat the dead horse on getting under center, running play action. And if you look at a couple pieces I wrote this week, but the two prior ones where the top two teams in under center plays are the Rams and the Seahawks, and they're 1 and 2 in pass plays beyond 20 yards. And the Rams are the most successful team in using 3 tight ends from under center. Stafford right now has got 30 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and they're getting wide open windows, and the Steelers don't get wide open windows, and that's been a consistent theme for years now. So then that second drive against the Bears looked more like what I wanted to see. You get under center, you're getting some motion going. You're making like linebackers think. You're making them have to change their gaps. You snap the ball, and then you get some powerful run plays. You get a play action to Skoranek. You kind of back out of it with the little dinky passes, and you get to 3rd and 2. You have a nice play that springs Gainwell for 15 yards, and it was a great touchdown design to get the tight ends out to Metcalf, and you get the 6-yard run. That's sort of a pass, right? And then you get to the third possession and you get a drop back pass, which I would love to see. And then you run the ball and you get to 2nd and 8 and you just back out of every rhythm that you have in any play action. Because to me, Jeremy, 1st and 2nd down is where you get your big plays, whether it be play action, whether it be a delayed screen to a back, whether it be hitting something in the post, but you're tackling all 3 levels, and they're just hitting the intermediate. Like, they're not even hitting their intermediate. They're just hitting the short passing game laterally constantly, and they can't get big plays, and they're last in big plays. So you got Scotty Miller, 5'9", 174, the lead blocker for Freiermuth at 3rd, and now it's 3rd and 6. And I said to myself, I'm like, this possession is going to end right here. You have a chance to go up 21-7, and Gainwell gets the nice run, and it's now 4th and inches. And to me, and I've always been involved in the coaching, and I've said this for years, if you make bad decisions, bad things tend to happen. So to me, it was no coincidence that now you don't get to push. And it's just the type of offense that they run where they're stopping themselves week after week. And it's been a long occurring thing. They don't attack the middle of the field. Kevin Byard is treated like he was Ed Reed from his prime, and there was not one throw over the middle of the field. And I think, too, when I look at the talent that they have, I'm not saying they got world beaters at wide receiver. They really don't. I mean, Metcalf's at best at number 2. He was the cause of the interception where he's fading away. He didn't help Mason Rudolph at all on that play. And Wilson and Calvin are kind of like 3-4s, but they're fast.
Mm-hmm.
And Roman Wilson, he's not going to get off press. I watched him 4 years at Michigan. He's not an off press guy. He's not a guy that's going to be a world beater in terms of routes near the line of scrimmage, but you get him in a bunch, you get him in motion, and he puts his foot in the ground and he's running an immediate crossing route, intermediate. And now he can make big plays, but he's not really used correctly. It's either go or like these short passes, he's not even he's kind of an afterthought. So I was hoping Mason would like bring this play action game to the equation, and it was more of the dink dunk. And by the time he got sacked and fumbled, I was demoralized. I just turned it off. I'm like, it's the same stuff. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is, who the coordinator is. So that's where I'm at with it offensively, Jeremy. Where are you at on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to the turnover. Wyatt Black recovers that fumble, which I don't know how that happened. I don't care to question it, but I was thinking, all right, they're up 14-7. You got the ball midfield. This is an opportunity to attack another score on at least a field goal.
Yeah.
Then on the fourth down play, it looked like Hayward had picked up that first down there. But to me, that was, and it seems like every game there's one or two, maybe three plays like that really kind of shift the tide. And I felt like from that point, they were playing catch up the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It seems like they get into these moments where if someone just steps up and makes a play, you have that player that elevates and lifts up the rest of the roster. It doesn't seem like there's anybody that's able to do that on the offensive side of the football. But is that a personnel issue, or going back to what you said about the offense, is it a play calling issue? Is it?
There's always gray areas, right? And so it's a combination of both. I mean, there is legit deficiency at quarterback and wide receiver, but they're not really maximizing the talent. Let's look at Jalen Warren. He should be out there more. As much as I like Kenny Gainwell, and he does nice things, but like in this game, for example, all the season they've been leaning a little too much on Gainwell. It's 2nd and 2, and you run a running play to the outside, like to the right, and it gets stuffed and it gets no yardage. Like to me, in short yardage, you want a back in there that's going to be able to get contact and get an extra yard or two. So now you're at 3rd and 2, and why not run it on 3rd and 2 once in a while? And so you get to 2nd and 2, and now you're punting, and it's just, there's too much of that too. It's herky-jerky. You know the question I would love to ask an offensive coordinator, because I know they know more than me. I'm not sitting up here talking like I have all the answers. I would love to learn from these people, but when I see football in the disconnect of plays to plays, it's just illogical to me. So what I mean is, I was happy to see a drop back pass from Mason, but they only ran the same drop back twice, and they hit Darnell Washington on the completions. But where's the drop back that leads to the delay handoff on 2nd and 10? That really helps Broderick Jones out on the left side, so that now you're manipulating. Because I've seen in the past where that delay handoff, then the delay leads into a delay play action, or then you drop back, and then now you leak your offensive lineman out, and then you got a screen to the flats that gets 15 to 20 yards, and that's an easy chunk play. And then maybe you run a trap then on 2nd and 10, and everybody just backs it. 2nd 8, 2nd 10, everybody just backs into a shotgun, and let's try to establish some kind of one-on-one instead of manipulating edge rushers and manipulating linebackers and manipulating, to me, you're making them think, you're making them hesitate, and at the same time, you're coming down and punching them in the mouth, and then you're getting chunk plays, wide open plays. The Steelers have struggled to get wide open chunk plays for years. I thought Arthur Smith was going to come in and save the play action game and bring it, and it still struggles just as if Matt Canada was in there.
Yeah. And
so that's,
speaking of Broderick Jones, this is going to be a nice little segue, but Tomlin presser today, he's going to be out this Sunday, along with, if we look at the defensive line on the other side of the ball, Derek Harmon is going to be out. But let's shift our focus. We talked about what's helping the offense. Defensively, you have Patrick Queen, who came out and was pretty matter of fact and straightforward and called out the positions that the defenders are being put in, which is really putting Terrell Austin under fire and the defensive coaching staff. And you also have to look at Tomlin, because I know it's just speculation, but there's pretty reputable sources, including Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, who says that it is, in fact, Tomlin calling that defense. So what are your thoughts on that unit?
Yeah, I think of Tomlin calling that unit, but I also think there's a little bit of arrogance or stubbornness to it when I hear in the Pittsburgh media as well that they like to proudly call it the Steelers cover 3 and 3-man, that this is what they do, when the rest of the league seems to have trended toward the too high safety look, more specifically quarters, using more quarters and quarters match. Where then, you got your outside cornerbacks that, they go deep. They're going to line up and cover one-on-one, but it's a combination basically of zone and man, but you're protecting against the deep ball. And I think I watched Michigan football for years, and Mike McDonald and then Jesse Minter, and now they do the same thing in Seattle, and they do the same thing with the Chargers and the Vic Fangio defense. Now the Rams are running that, and they lead the league in lowest point total. And I don't know if their pass rushers, they're great, but I don't know if they're as great as what the Steelers have in terms of edge rushers. And they're doing this man defense, and they're going single high. For a couple weeks, they were using more too high. And I understand going against Ben Johnson, you want to stop the run, and that could be lethal. But, man, they're getting picked apart, and they're getting picked apart over the middle repeatedly. Same thing, Jeremy. When we get to the playoffs, it's 21-0 before you can blink, and they're running single high against Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. That's just not going to work. You got to keep the ball in front and let your pass rush get home at some point.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I'm at with the defense too. I think they got a lot of talent. I do on that side of the ball. Because let me ask you this. I mean, you look at the 11 starters, who would you really say, I don't really like that guy as a starter and he needs to be replaced? I mean, obviously, Pierre's doing a good job, and he's physical, and I love him, and he's a good zone corner. I hope he signs a 2-year extension, and he's a lifelong Steeler. I don't know if he's a starter, but in comparison, I don't mind him being out there with the pass rush they have. You look at the starters, and who do you say, this is a weak link?
That's a good point. I think from a personnel perspective, it's there, and it doesn't even have to be an elite level defense, or as Tomlin dubbed it this summer, it has the potential to be historic. I'm not even saying to that level, but
yeah,
I think you make a good point. This is a quality group that should at least be able to keep the team in games, and they've shown that this year. But I think at some point you do have to look at schematics, and when you have your players starting to voice that to the media, there's frustration on that level. So
on both sides of the ball, I think you get a guy like Calvin Austin who doesn't want to talk to the media after the game, and you're biting your tongue because you don't want to say things. And then, Patrick Queen sort of did say things, and I don't think there's a belief on what they're doing on both sides of the ball right now.
No,
I haven't believed in it.
Yeah, and if you look too, I mean, if we just go through here and kind of project throughout the rest of the season, and you look at the schedule, you got the Bills coming in this weekend, which is going to be hard task. Then you have the Ravens, 2 matchups against the Ravens. You're going to go against Cleveland again, strong defense. You've got the Lions, the Dolphins, who historically in the past few years they've struggled with. It's not an easy schedule. And so my next question for you is, what is possible for this team moving forward? Do they have enough to sneak into the playoffs, or are the wheels going to fall off of this thing?
I've been writing frustratingly now for 3 to 4 years that Steeler football is Groundhog Day, and you can expect 9-8 or 10-7. Yeah. Mike Tomlin's strengths as a leader and a coach and getting guys to play every week and play hard, they're there. But unfortunately, the things that we talked about, a lack of play action, lack of starting early, maybe just being always behind the times, in 2016 and 17 when the play action game was really taking off, we didn't have one. And then teams countered with 2 high safeties and go more cover 4, cover 2, getting heavier inside with the defensive tackles where those guys are removable. And now you got Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen who are not getting linemen to come down on them because they got 2 space eaters, and we're still trying to penetrate gaps with Montrevious Adams and go single high. I just think that schematically we're always a step behind. But at the same time, Mike Tomlin's strengths of emphasizing, hey, get turnovers, and I've been saying for years, they can beat the best team in the league and they can lose to the worst team in the league because of their strengths and weaknesses. And so I fully expect they'll probably beat Miami. They'll probably beat Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders is starting. You got a great pass rush there, prop 4. And then they always find a way to beat a good team. And here we are back at 9-8, and we're not in position to get a quarterback. I look at New England and I'm pretty envious, 6 Super Bowls, and already then they bottomed out, and then now they got Derek May and they're Drake May, I should say. They're back to being a competitor, and their arrows pointing up.
Yeah.
And we're still stuck at 9-8. So, look, I would like for it to go one way or the other, and I don't believe that it can be a team that can win playoff games. So, I hate to say I'd like for it to bottom out, but I don't know if that's going to happen, brother.
Yeah. And speaking of that New England comparison that you're making, 6 Super Bowls under Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
But it got to the point where it was time to make the decision to move on. And it's a hotly contested. You have pretty strong viewpoints on both sides, though I think that the frustration of the fan base is flipping more towards it's time for a fresh start. But the Rooney seemed committed to Tomlin. And here's the thing, too, and we were talking about this before we got on here, is that nobody is arguing with the fact that Tomlin is a great coach, a great leader of men. He's a motivator, and he's done great things in Pittsburgh. But there does come a point where the shelf life of a coach, you look at Andy Reid, he went on to Kansas City and reinvented himself. Bill Belichick departed the Patriots. They bottomed out. Now they're rebounding with Mike Vrabel as their head coach. Or even just going back to Bill Cowher. He knew when it was time to walk. Chuck Noll knew when it was time to walk away. I think it's just part of the process. And, there's Tomlin always talks about we're not seeking comfort. Well, maybe you really are, because maybe the next step for his growth as a professional, as a coach, is somewhere else. And for the organization, they're going to grow. They're going to have to make that decision. And, I love the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
And I never want to see them lose, but
You and me both.
betterment of the organization.
Yes.
At some point, if it's just mediocrity and you continue to sneak into the playoffs, you have a winning record, you lose the first round of the postseason, it sustains this cycle that's never ending. And in order for that to be broken and to change, maybe the bottom does have to fall out.
Yeah, my mind flashes to 2003, the last game of the year against the Ravens on a Sunday night, and I'm rooting for the Ravens, and they kick a last-second field goal to win the game. Jamal Lewis, I think, had 2,000 yards and eclipsed it. And that put us in position to get Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
If they win that game, Buffalo Bills get Ben Roethlisberger. Sometimes you're rooting for your team to lose for all the right reasons. It is stale. It has, for too long, just been the same product.
Yeah.
And you see the same things. This is going to be 9 years in a row without a playoff win. And the 3 playoff wins that they've had since 2010, 2 backup quarterbacks. And the only quarterback that you beat that was a starter was Alex Smith, 18-16. And you beat A.J. McCarron, 18-16. And you beat Matt Moore, who was a backup. That was the only big playoff win that you had since 2010. Because I've been seeing these same things where they pull out a rhythm and they're inconsistent on offense. And yes, they make it look pretty with Ben and Antonio Brown, but there's no consistency. There's no commitment to running as much as you need to. I understand what that looks like when I watch 2004 and 2005 and it's just not there. And he doesn't know how to get it there. Tomlin doesn't. It's just not going to happen. I think too, like you said, if he's in some other organization and there's no comfort level of your job is safe no matter what, maybe you do a better job.
Yeah.
And I think of and maybe you're not so stubborn to make certain changes. I think of the organization as a whole, there's this proud, hey, we've had 3 coaches since 1969. There's something to be proud there for that stability, but you also have to evolve and realize when certain things are not working. And I just think there's a little bit of arrogance maybe there too, where this is how we do it, when this is how we do it doesn't necessarily work right now. You know what I mean? So, that's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah. It's definitely frustrating, and I'm sure it's frustrating for the players, frustrating for the organization, frustrating for the fan base, that every year you want to get excited about the season, but in your gut that it's just going, like you said, it's Groundhog. It's going to be the same outcome. The
Mhm.
faces changed. It's Mitch Trubisky. It's Kenny Pickett. It's Russell Wilson.
Mhm.
It's Aaron Rodgers.
Matt Canada, it's
Yeah.
Arthur.
And exactly, too. The offensive coordinators have changed. The defensive coordinators have changed. Oh, Keith Butler
looks the same.
Indigo. But it's
Yeah.
who's the common thread? Who's the common factor? Again, Mike Tomlin is a great coach.
Yep.
It's just, I think it's time. I think it's,
Yeah.
that's not, again, that's not slamming the guy. That's not saying he's awful. He's done great things for the city. It's just, there's a natural point in any relationship where you just,
I have an incredible amount of respect for him as a human being. I don't want to see any human being either get fired. I mean, he's going to be okay. He's made a lot of money, but like, he's got a family. He's got kids. I'm not, it doesn't make me happy to say it. Like, I don't look at it from a fan's perspective of like, just, get rid of this guy. No, I got to look at things from the championship level. Are you getting a group? Are you getting an organization to the championship level? As much as I might like you as an individual, that just doesn't come into my equation of like objectively, evaluating what that individual is doing. And I get frustrated with him because I think his, I'll say ego, we all have ego, but like his stubbornness gets in the way of his intelligence for a lot of us too, where I think evolving, and because I don't understand, this is where I don't understand, Jared. Like, I learned so much from 04, 05 compared to 02 and 03, and they're going pass happy with Maddox, and then they committed and they got 2 big backs, and and Ben averaged 8.9 yards a pass attempt. And of course they had the defense behind it, but they were keeping the defense off the field too. And it just made for a 26-4 formula. And to totally get away from that, I thought the first chip toward going downhill was when Bruce Arians said, I don't have a fullback in my offense. And Mike Tomlin, who says we leave no stone unturned, seemed to be okay with that. I think getting away from what made you incredibly successful for that run there. And I think Ben's motorcycle accident kind of got in the way where you go 8-8, and it gives you an excuse to say, hey, this wasn't working, when it was working incredibly well. To move away from what works so much, I wonder if somebody is just trying to put their own stamp on things and doesn't even quite see that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Because they want to have their own identity and they want to believe there's I've coached in the high school level, man. The egos that were involved in that, it was in a 1 year time, was incredible to me, because I'm thinking like, what is best for these kids and what's best for winning? Not like, hey, I got this system that I ran up north that I want to keep here when it doesn't fit your personnel, but you keep trying to stuff. I saw that happen in 1 year's time. And an incredibly knowledgeable coach. I think there's a lot of that in the league too. And I just wonder that because it doesn't work and it keeps happening over and over again.
Yeah. So let's bring this home, Matt, because we kind of on the things that this team needs to improve and the dismal outlook. What is one thing that we could give the fan base positive here in the short term and positive in the long term?
Positive, how long in the long term?
Just whatever time frame you want to put on it.
I like the arrow that's pointing up with some of the young players along both lines of scrimmage. I thought, Y.A. Black had a good game. Unfortunately, Harmon hurt his knee, and Benton's been flashing well. And so that interior of the defensive line, I would love to get another 330-pound or 6'2", 320-pound space eater maybe on round 3, to just be immovable in there so that you could put 2 safeties and just play the game optimally with that philosophy more. Offensive lines come together. Look, Broderick Jones got a lot of heat from people. I think he's had his ups and downs. I thought he was playing really well until he got hurt the other day. You watched that little running play before the tush push that failed to Gainwell, and he's getting out there and blocking a corner. I don't think you give up on that athletic ability, and I would give him the 5th year option. He's too athletic. And again, I don't think he's used optimally. Why not use him on counter plays and get him pulling and then get him out on screens to the left and use that athletic ability to your advantage? But the offensive line, is improving. The defensive line is improving. I think Peyton Wilson's had his ups and downs, but I like him as a football player. Porter's done better. I mean, it's kind of been under the radar, not as many penalties, but you look at the numbers as thrown his way. You look at the draft that Omar Khan has had, the first one, I think there's a lot of extension possibilities there between, I love Darnell, and Herbig and Benton playing better and Porter. I'm hoping there's a lot of guys re-up there.
Yeah.
But they don't have a quarterback, brother. And I don't know where that's coming either. I was looking at the 49ers and thinking, maybe Mac Jones is a trade candidate. You get a third round, if you can trade for a third round pick and then get that guard in round 1 or a corner in round 1 and get the other position in round 2. But Brock Purdy's thrown multiple interceptions in 3 of the last 4 games, and they may want to hold on to him. And there might not be but 1, maybe 2 first-round quarterbacks if a lot of these guys go back for NIL money. And then you don't want to mortgage your draft. I think there's such an opportunity to create depth and really solidify the rest of the offensive line, maybe even the defensive line and the defensive backs in this draft, brother. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if, just kind of bringing this home here, the one thing that I've already started doing, and we talked about this before we got on, is researching draft prospects for next year. And
it's fun.
That sounds like a resignation of the season, and it kind of is. But right now, they're going to have 12 picks in this upcoming draft, and that's not even factoring in the compensatory picks, which should at least be 3. So you're talking potentially 15 picks, and I believe there's a chance that we can have 4 third-rounders. So you're going to be in a position to really add and bolster this roster. And like you were saying earlier about the defense, you have some talented players. So I think there is an opportunity to build for the future. And you have a lot of these young guys. I agree with you about the offensive line. A lot of people might disagree, but I think you have a core group there that are getting better. I think you've added some young talent on the defensive line. And so it's just, I'm looking toward the future for the promise that it holds, but there are things.
Hey, man, you're never too far away in football like people think they are. I mean, look at the Commanders last year, and they had the 2nd pick, and then boom. Now, granted, they had Daniels, but there's a lot of examples out there where all of a sudden the season flips. I like a lot of their talent that they already have. Yeah. Are they missing at least one piece at receiver? Sure. I like the running backs. I think Caleb Johnson would be fine. I'd like to see him get more opportunity. I think if you build it correctly, you should have 2 big backs. I think Jalen Warren needs to be on third down more, but I love Jalen Warren overall. I mean, if you got 2 really good backs, and I think they do, one should be bigger and one should be Jalen. And with the line coming together and Darnell, like there's pieces there.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they win games, and there's not too many holes left. It's not catastrophic, but I don't trust the direction on both sides of the ball schematically or philosophically to get it done today.
Yeah.
So until that changes, I just expect, unfortunately, Groundhog Day.
I was just going to say, I think that's what I'm going to call this episode, Matt, Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day once again for the Steelers. But, Matt, I want to appreciate you coming on here today.
Thanks for having me.
You filled in admirably. I know that the viewers always enjoy your insight, and check out Matt's work on Steel City Insider. It's outstanding. And how about a quick prediction here for the Bills game before we head out?
Oh, man. Hey, it could go either way with them. I would say this is the game where you do run single high and you try to take away the run, and they don't have the receivers that can separate. So this would be the game to do it. You probably have the corners to be able to get it done. You got to run the shit out of the ball, Jeremy. I'm telling you, I hate this, but come on, man. They average 5.8 yards attempt giving up. If you don't run the ball 35, 40 times in this game, what are you doing? Okay, so then they could win the game. Now, do I think they're going to do that? Offensively, no. So we're going to get back to dink and dunk, and Rodgers is going to switch plays, and I think the Bills probably end up winning. And brother, I won't be too disappointed with that. We're at the 15th or 16th pick right now.
We got to move up. We got to move up because you got Vegas, the New York up there ahead, who are probably going to take a quarterback. The thing that I'll say about this weekend against the Bills, in addition to what you said about their rush defense, their pass protection is hideous. They're shooting opportunities to get home. But again, despite the talent that's there, it's not coming to fruition. So I can see it going either way too. I know that's kind of waffling, but I'll say this: the pattern all year. We get our bubble popped when we're about to lose hope. Then they have a big win, so they'll win only to get smoked by the Ravens the next week. So
it's the Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. That's it.
Method. It's how it goes.
That's it. Well, we want to thank everybody for watching here today.
Jim, thinking about you, brother.
Absolutely, man. And please subscribe if you haven't. Drop a comment below. Let us know your thoughts on what we had here to talk about. And we'll see you back here for a new episode of Steel City Insider. Matt, have a great week, man. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
All right. Take care.
Everybody. Take care.
Say